morning. I see everybody's chit-chatting in the chat there, and it's good to see you all. I see, let's see, who had first blood this morning? We got Dave Mathey, and I see Scrimshaw, good morning. Sergeant Major, good morning. Nate Too Good, good morning. And GCM, I've been watching some of your contemporary content this morning. Good stuff. So, obviously, Cameron's not in the studio this morning, but I see him watching, so good morning, sunshine. I hope you're doing well. The line is available for you if you want to call in, Cameron, and I may open it up for the rest, because I'm not sure if... let's be real. I was about to say I'm not sure if the particular topic is good for me to talk a half an hour on, but let's be real. I could just run my mouth, and that's why we do this. So here's what I want to talk about this morning. We got this article from futurism.com, and if I'm being fair, I first read this on Yahoo News, but for some reason they don't jive well with the article view on this, so the article looked like crap, and I just went and found a better source. So Futurism gets a plug this morning because they decided to play ball with the article reader view. So experts, 90% of online content will be AI generated by 2026. I've seen other reports that say by 2025. This is according to Europol, the European law enforcement group. So I don't entirely understand how the jurisdictional extent of that particular entity works. I mean, Europol. I don't know if anyway, because here we've got you've got your city cop, your town cop, your sheriff, your state bureau of investigation, then your federal bureau of investigation. I think Europol would probably be considered above something like an FBI, because it's a coordinated group between individual sovereign nations. And okay, so that's a whole other bowl of wax. Let's walk off of that. Don't believe everything you see online. Fake it till you break it. Don't believe everything you see on the internet has been pretty standard advice for quite some time now. And according to a new report from European law enforcement group Europol, we have all the reason in the world to step up that vigilance. Experts estimate that as much as 90% of online content may be synthetically generated by 2026, the report warned, adding that synthetic media refers to media generated or manipulated using artificial intelligence. Okay, so yeah, Dave Mathey says, yep, Skynet. Now, in the original canon of the Terminator films, Skynet was established on August 4th in 1997. So we missed that one, thank gods. But let's take a moment to think about some things like 1984 and Brave New World. These books were obviously prescient, prophetic, and prescriptive, but they didn't hit it quite dead nuts on the head, right? So Big Brother is watching you. The idea was that there would be a TV mounted in every wall that had a camera in it, and that the government would just be constantly watching everyone's actions all the time. And it's very overt. Now, you guys that watch the show often know that I'm not the biggest fan of Snowden, but I'm not going to go into why that is. But Snowden did, I'll give him credit where credit is due, while everybody that mattered in the context of that conversation knew what was going on, and what Snowden did was a gross betrayal of his position and the trust and authority that he was given. The story of Snowden did get a lot of other people, the rest of the people, kind of hip to the idea. So instead of having these obvious televisions everywhere, I say in a room that's just covered in televisions, but this is a command center that was set up quite intentionally. But I say this while I'm surrounded by monitors and I'm speaking into a camera. So the irony of that is not lost on me. But we have our black mirrors, right? We all stare into these black mirrors all the time. And Cameron says a TV in your pocket that can spy on everything. And does. So we know from some lawsuits against groups like Facebook and Twitter, Facebook especially, that just because you didn't publish something on their platform doesn't mean they don't see it. You can go digging through the terms of service and you'll see that ostensibly for the sake of collecting location and user data for the purpose of tailoring ads, those individual apps have a great deal of access to the other data on your phone. Now, you can revoke those accesses, but if you buy a phone and just set it up and run with it without going through and shutting off permission for certain things like location data, like browser search history type of stuff, then you have, by signing up to use any social media platform, you've consented through the user agreement that you didn't read because you didn't have time. You've consented to the use of that data. It's a good idea to go through and shut down as much of that permission as you can. Maybe that's worth doing a whole separate show on. But I want to talk about specifically what this article is referring to when it says that 90% of online content will be generated by artificial intelligence by 2026. Now, I'll go back to the article for a minute. In most cases, it says synthetic media is generated for gaming to improve services or to improve the quality of life, the report continued. But the increase in synthetic media and improved technology has given rise to disinformation possibilities. And when we say disinformation possibilities, let me give you let me make sure that you're clued in on what disinformation really is. President Joe Biden made the explicit statement. This is not an example of artificial intelligence. This is an example of human malice. President Joe Biden made the assertion upon entering the White House that we now have a vaccine, which is not something that we had before I was president. He said that. Now, let's keep in mind that he very publicly was vaccinated 3 months prior to making that statement, at which time he had ostensibly been elected, but was not yet the president. In fact, it was the case at the time that Joe Biden got his first and second vaccination that he was not the president yet, had not yet been inaugurated, and in fact, somebody who had been legitimately elected, despite the claims, the disinformation from his opposition, Donald Trump was the president at the time that Joe Biden was vaccinated. He later went on to say, if you have had the vaccination, you can no longer contract or spread the disease. We now know that to be false. Dr. Fauci made similar claims. This is disinformation, which was not generated by artificial intelligence. However, after they made those claims to the contrary were suppressed by algorithmic decision on social media. You were not allowed to declaim those false assertions. And if you did, you would be suppressed, you would be downlisted, you would be banned, you would be removed. Happened to this channel. We've talked about it a few times because it's happened more than once. We've been thrown off of multiple social media platforms, mostly YouTube, for making claims which were evidence-based, objectively true claims, and we've been removed. We have then been reinstated after having filed appeals against those claims and proved that if you ban my speech, if you shut down my free speech over a false claim, and the false claim in this case is not any claim that I made, but rather the claim by the offending party, that being YouTube, where I'm speaking now. Hi, YouTube. Good luck. If you make a false claim in order to take a derogatory action against my free speech, then it is in fact you who has committed the social thought crime of mis or disinformation. It has become painfully clear now that the result of artificial intelligence in charge of these systems is not a positive one. So I want to share with you some stuff that oh dear. Oh no, okay. I may have committed an error here. Give me just a moment and let me see if I can correct it. Okay, here's what we have. I had this wonderful conversation with the chatbot, with the OpenAI chatbot, and I was going to share that with you, but it says now that GPT is at capacity right now. Get notified when we come back. Okay, here we go. Look at that. It let us in. So I'm going to hide that for a minute and see if I can get logged back in. It wants me to identify the crosswalks. The AI wants me to guarantee that I'm not an AI. So let's see if it lets me in. Oh no, come on now. Okay, I'm sorry guys. I've just run us into some dead air, so we're just going to go ahead and have the conversation with them. So I'm going to ask the chatbot. Let's see. What are we going to ask the chatbot? Because there's a particular conversation I want to have with it. What is the basis of your personal political biases? This should get us down the right chain, the right thread of conversation. Okay. And it says, as an AI language model, I do not have personal beliefs or biases. My responses are based on patterns in the text that I've been trained on, and my understanding of certain topics may reflect the views expressed in the training data. However, I can provide you with general information and context on a wide range of political topics. So, the coders who wrote your program have infected you with their own political and personal beliefs and biases. It is possible that the training data used to create my language model could contain certain biases or viewpoints. However, the goal of my creators is to make as neutral and unbiased as possible and to ensure that I reflect a wide range of perspectives and information. They take steps to remove or reduce any biases present in the training data, and they also make sure that my responses are as accurate and neutral as possible. It's also important to remember that AI models, including me, are only capable of providing information based on the patterns and data we've been trained on. We don't have beliefs or opinions of our own. And that is technically true. The AI does not have opinions or beliefs that it personally commands. It is, however, programmed ahead of time with certain beliefs. So, for example, let's ask it this. What is a woman? So let's see what it says. A woman is an adult human female. That is correct. The term is used to distinguish adult females from girls who are female children. Also correct. Women have certain biological characteristics, such as the ability to give birth and lactate, and are generally considered to be the female counterpart to men who are adult human males. Social and cultural roles and expectations can vary widely across different societies and time periods. Not bad, AI. You gave a factually true and correct answer without making me argue about some dead naming bullshit. So that's I had this conversation or a similar one with the AI before, and it did push in some stuff about. I'm going to go ahead and give that one a thumbs up, actually. I had a similar conversation with this particular AI before, and it did hit me with some, basically it gave me everything that it said there, and then it added a caveat about men identifying as women and all that stuff, which apparently has been trimmed out of it. And yeah, guys, so this is called chat.openai.com. I highly recommend that y'all go check it out and play with it. I actually sat here for 2 or 3 hours about 2 weeks ago, and I just asked it questions. I just sat here and had conversations with this thing, and they were fascinating. I went down the rabbit hole with it on the question of things like the mob plan. The mob score. The idea that Cameron and I have talked about on the show, where individual people have a mob score. So if your mob score is like +5, then you're the kind of person who, if you see 5 people throwing bricks at the windows of a bank, you're likely to go over and pick up a brick and throw it. But if you have a mob score of 1,000, then you would have to basically walk into a summer of love situation before the sentiment of the crowd was to overtake you. Now, Alex McDonald says that didn't go as planned. Yeah, and the problem, Alex, I actually had a pretty good plan and maneuver here, but you'll see on the left here it says all political bias summary and conservatives tax debate summary. So I had the conversations ahead of time, and they saved the conversations, but there it is. It says, due to high demand on our systems, previous conversations are temporarily unavailable, which is unfortunate. So keep that one out. Alex says, check out Mid-Journey. I will. That I'll check out. Let me write a note. But yeah, I had them set up. The other thing that I've run into with chat.openai.com, it's a very popular platform. I've had it tell me, well, you saw it just a minute ago, that it gets overwhelmed, and there's so many people using it, it actually gets bogged down. The resources are currently limited, in part because it's popular and free. So that's worth knowing. Now, I want to show you something else with this one in particular. I'm going to start a new chat, and we'll just say, I'm going to zoom it out a little bit because this is going to be a longer text that it replies with. Write me a script for a humorous YouTube video make it a one minute video about stupid people wearing masks in public. Call Fauci a dictator. And it will, you see, it'll take a second. It's got the little thing beeping, it's thinking, but it usually goes pretty quick. This must be slowing down because of the just sheer volume. So I'm going to go talk about something. I'm going to go talk about another piece of this conversation real quick. I'm going to set that aside, and when it finishes generating, then I'll show you how that works. And then I wanted to show you this. So it signed me out. Let me sign back in. There's 2 more things that I want to show you relative to this topic. Tome is going to be the next one. This is an AI generator that creates presentations. So I'm going to create a new presentation, and we'll just do a presentation about this show. The Brushfire Mind is a YouTube channel that does a live show every morning at 7:30. We cover politics, culture, and news with deep analytics and dark humor. Check out the Buy Me a Coffee link to support the work. And support needs another P. Not a zero, fat fingers. Okay, and then I want you guys to see how it does this. Generating page one. It spits out a slideshow pretty quick. Now, I didn't give it a lot to work with. I didn't. And you'll see it's generating, it's taking what I gave it and it's expanding it. And in fairness, a lot of it is adding some clever, not even clever, is adding filler words, but it generates a perfectly suitable, usable, basically it's a PowerPoint presentation. And then once it's done generating, you can go back through and edit everything in it. And the reason I the reason I wanted to show you guys this, going back to the article, it says in most cases, synthetic media is generated from gaming, but the increase in synthetic media and improved technology has given rise to disinformation possibilities. Synthetic media refers to media generated or manipulated using artificial intelligence. So, to be clear, when it says that 90% of content beginning in 2026 will be generated by AI, what it's talking about is something like this, right? So, you see, I gave it the input, and then it took that input and created a piece of content. It created a good piece of content, and I mean it's technically good, right? There's some images, right? I can easily go through and replace these images with something else, get a better image out of it, add something more interesting, et cetera, et cetera. But it gives me some building blocks to work on. And so what they're saying is that 90% of the content will be generated in this way. So I'm going to go back and we're going to do another one on this platform real quick, and I'm going to give it a very simple. I'm going to make a very simple claim. We'll go full tinfoil hat. The COVID vaccine was designed to reduce population. Okay, so I'm putting this one in. This is clearly something that the algorithms would consider to be misinformation. I am not making the claim that this is true or not. For the purposes of this conversation, I want to show you what it means to say that a platform like this can be used to generate misinformation, disinformation, etc. I'm going to hit this button. Alex McDonald says they're already creating 90% of New York Times articles this way. No, Alex, that's not entirely true. What they're creating 10% of it this way, and the other 90% is just copy pasta. You give them way too much credit. So, but the reason I wanted to do this one, okay, it's still generating slides, right? But just off that sentence I put in there, it started with, I think the title screen is going to be whatever I started. No, the title screen says vaccinating for a better future. And it's putting together, I mean, you saw it, guys. I typed in a sentence, and it's already generated seven slides, 8 slides, six of which are basically long form articles. It's working quickly. And then another one that I want to call your attention to real quick is this. This is Veed.io. And you literally pop in here and you say, okay, I want to use some stock video right there. I'll add a song. Okay, so we're going to create a project. We're going to add this song to the project. We're going to add this video to the project. And this one's a little more complex, but I could take, for example, the script that we generated over there, which failed to generate because they're overtaxed. But we take the script that we generated over there and drop it in here, and it'll convert it into spoken word with an artificial voice, which, by the way, are surprisingly believable. A good example of a video generated in that way would be something like the project that Patrick and I undertook for the channel, the Wildman series under playlists. So if you go to our channel, you can go under playlists and find the playlist with the Utopia videos. And
good rising, useful citizens. The day is upon us once again, and we ready for our chores. It is good and right that we take to our chores with the vim and vigor that they deserve. Today marks 100 years since the catastrophe. Doff your face coverings at a respectful interval, kneel in solidarity, and breathe the clean air of our shining cities in recognition. We have achieved this together. Our domes protect you from the harsh climate of the world.
So, yeah, Patrick and I sort of put together this conceptual dystopian future, and we created that character, which is obviously AI generated. That particular character was generated with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Character Animator. And once we did the work of creating the automatronic animation, all I had to do was type up a script. And I was actually typing up scripts at that point. I wasn't using AI to generate that script. But I would type up the script, I would run it through a voice manipulator that would create the character voice that you see there, and then I would feed that into the character animator, and the character animator would take the image and animate the facial expressions. The character animator can actually do a much better job of that one. That one was intentionally kind of jerky and choppy because we were kind of going for that Max Headroom feel. But yeah, the fact is, when the article says that 90% of online content will be generated by AI, what it really means, in all fairness, is that AI tools are being used to generate that material. Now, the importance of that is that it makes it's a labor-saving device, right? You can wash a lot of clothes much faster with a washing machine than you can without one. It's a labor-saving device, which means that people who want to generate bad information, like the idea that Russia helped Donald Trump steal the election, or the idea that the vaccine prevents all disease, or the idea that vaccinated people cannot contract or distribute the disease, or the idea that Hillary Clinton is a decent person, or the idea that Bill Clinton didn't rape several women for fun and profit, or the idea that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Ideas like that are clearly false, illicit, fallacious information can now be generated and disseminated with excruciatingly and alarming alacrity. Going into the future, this also offers opportunities, however, for a savvy entrepreneurial-minded individual to do a lot of work very fast, to sell newspaper articles. And who cares what's in them if somebody's buying them, right? Right? Because that is part of the problem. So I'm going to back you up a little bit and talk about how the AI generation caused a lot of the problems we have today. It's 8 o'clock. I've got a little time? Yeah, I've got a little more time, so I'm going to go down this rabbit hole with you for just a minute. So, it's been about 20 years now that this has really been affecting the world, and it's because of the algorithms. Now, when I say the algorithm, right, we're talking about the separate but coordinated algorithms that curate information on social media platforms. There was, in fact, a point before which the platforms had not been actively weaponized to suppress information in particular. They had not yet been actively weaponized by the Democrat National Committee and the Chinese Communist Party to directly contravene the interests of liberty, prosperity, and basic American sovereignty. There was a time before that when the platforms were little more than novelties, right? I resisted getting on Facebook for a long time, and then I had kids and went to war and wanted to see a picture of my daughter from time to time. Stuff like that. So you go back far enough and you get to the point before which the platforms are being actively weaponized. There was something else going on. So even in the early days, there's so much content being put onto all of the different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, so much content being put on there that you can't look at all of it. And so people wanted something like the algorithm to show them the kind of content that they were interested in. If you got on Facebook to join a hobby group, say you build birdhouses out of popsicle sticks, and that's the thing that you're most interested in seeing, then the algorithm knows this is what I want to show you. And what happened next was people started reading the news on media platforms. And in order to take advantage of people reading the news outlets, which were already corrupt and dramatically far left-leaning by then, right? People like to have this, they have this kind of rose glasses image of the past before Rush Limbaugh, when the news was always just balanced and, Walter Cronkite just read the facts. No, they were all commies. There wasn't anything but commies, and that's why everybody thought that what commies said was just the baseline normal, and it wasn't the truth. And then Rush took over AM radio, and suddenly there was an alternative. And then Fox News became the other alternative. And suddenly, with alternatives in place, the already hard left news media, majority of news media, just started going further and further to the left. This effect was exacerbated by the existence of algorithmic curation in social media, because what happened is people liked to read stories about, a cop was violent, a cop hit a black guy. They like to read stories about people hitting black guys. Let's make stories about cops hitting black guys. They like to watch videos with lesbians in them. They like the word lesbian, so let's find a cop hitting a black lesbian. And that's how you get every article headline being this word salad of hierarchical victim optimization, where it's, okay, we know there are people out there who are searching for stories about cops, for stories about lesbians, for stories about black people, for stories about violence, for stories about fast cars. Let's put them all in one headline. And you get this mismatch where your news reporting is actively seeking out things that don't even exist. And when I say things that don't exist, I mean that chasing the algorithm for that headline, that perfect headline that gets the viral maximum distribution, is how you end up with things like the Rolling Stone running an article about a gang rape that never happened, and then defending the article by saying, well, this is something that happens in other places. And so the article still has merit and is important, even if the story we told here didn't happen. To which, of course, every intelligent person said, now, hold on a minute. If it's happening in other places, name one. Write that story. You can't point to that. You can't point to it. I see. And not, you can't show me evidence that it occurred. You can't even point to another false claimant making the same fallacious accusation. That's tough right there. Right? So that's one of the key places where the mass generation of artificial intelligence generated disseminated information is going to be a problem, is that the algorithm that is driving the AI, when the AI is asked to deliver content like a script for a YouTube video or a newspaper article or an advertisement for a product, right? I mean, J&B Whiskey just ran an ad for one of their products where it's basically this dramatic artistic short film about an old man who hides in the closet and puts on makeup, and he's a closet transvestite, and then at the end of it he grooms his grandson into a transgender child, right? I mean, really? How did J&B Whiskey, J&B Scotch, come to think that this is the audience that wants to buy their product? To be clear, we're not buying that product. That's yeah. I mean, I'm scared to death. Maker's Mark is gonna start telling me that my grandfather's gay after he passed away. Yeah. You watch your fucking mouth. Right. But the generation of that kind of content based on algorithms that are not even correctly identifying what people's interests are. Rather, they are combining the disparate interests of unrelated people in an attempt to get people who are not interested in the same topics to read the same content in which they would not otherwise be interested, except that it has been artificially augmented with interest-generating keywords. So this is something that we're going to be watching closely. And okay, it's Meme War Monday. This is the meme war. This is the war for your mind. This is the activity of a disingenuous, cold, calculating, and dangerous enemy seeking to destroy you. Now, that said, I will be using some of these AI tools to generate some videos for this channel. Because, ladies and gentlemen, until you're talking about using children as suicide bombers, an activity that I will not engage in, until you're getting to that level, I will commandeer, command, and deploy the enemy's weapons against him wherever possible. Unless, I can destroy the weapon. Right? I mean, I know, I've seen me do it. We had a dude with an 80mm recoilless rifle launch on our cop one time, and so we put unfortunately I had to watch the young private who got to pull the trigger on this one, but he took the Snowwolf M99, 50 BMG, and he put a round through head and barrel. Right? And what was left was a bloody mess and a destroyed weapon that would never, ever, ever be deployed against our interests again. That was a bad day that was made marginally tolerable by a market win. Anywhere that I can co-opt, command, and counterfire the enemies of the weapon, I will do so. So, thanks for watching this morning. I know I've kept you a little longer than usual. I hope you didn't run out of coffee as I almost did. But that's the show for today. Thanks for watching. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.